courtroom door, and she'd always like pull my arm back and say, you know, that case might not have said what I told you. Because now I'm thinking that maybe, you know, you never want to do that to anybody. Now, I had patience because I'm a woman, I've practiced law before. I know that I read the brief and I read the case before I walked in the court. I don't think anybody would, you know, put everything on, you know, somebody just come out of law school, but a lot of times you have to. You must. So I had the time and patience to tell her, don't do that to me. You know, and probably did after the third time, she continued to do this. You can't doubt yourself. Be sure. If you have questions when you draft in the memo, talk to me then. But don't tell me when I'm about to, you know, argue a motion that the case doesn't say, you know. But, you know, that's usefulness. And I think that she just didn't, you know, she wanted me to know she was really trying to be helpful. But what I started to do then is, like I said, you know what? The only way you're going to learn is, you know, the next time she did that is, I said, fine, did you argue this motion? And maybe that was, you know, she was mad at me for a long time. But she never said but, you know, it's just, you know, but I know what would have happened if it had been a male partner. He would have been, I hate to use the word pissed off, he would have been really, really mad, would have come back, talked bad about her to everybody in the firm, and nobody would have wanted her to walk in the courtroom again. You know, and that's just, you know, she would have been walking around thinking, what did I do? What did I do? You know, and it was something so simple. And to be honest with you, every time she really was right. The memo was right, but she just sort of panicked and felt all the pressure, and more so than I would feel for guide lawyers in her. She, you know, she really cared that I would win and that my motion would be right. And I just said, look, with that little quirk about your personality, you have to stop. So that was the way to do it, you know. And I mean, of course, you know, I let her argue more motions after that, but she understood that, you know, you are, like Darlene said, I mean, you're part of a team, and you have to, you know, and it's not all about you. I mean, nobody's sitting down every day thinking about every little mistake you might have made in a day. We all make mistakes in practicing law. I mean, not huge ones, hopefully, but, you know, I mean, so you don't overburden yourself with that. But be practical, too. I mean, that was a situation where, you know, that was just, that could have, you know, if that person didn't have a buffer, which was me at the time, could have ruined their own career by something like that.
We've talked about being prepared, how important that is, and there's something else that I think you got to remember just as much as being prepared, and that's how you handle yourself, how you present yourself. I think you absolutely have to be professional, even when it's driving you nuts. Composure, the old adage, you know, don't blink. That is so important. Of course, be yourself, but I think you have to maintain your composure and your professionalism no matter what's happening. And it's a small world here, and even in the country, it's a very small world. So professional courtesy, sometimes you may not want to give somebody an opportunity to reschedule something, or maybe you don't want to give them another extension. But I just think that we are professionals, and I think we should work together, and in the long run, when you do things like that, you'll have an opportunity to get the favor in return if necessary. And tying back to the statement or the question earlier about comments made by men over the years, it reminds me of something else as far as how you present yourself. There will be many times if you're in depositions where you might have opportunities where someone is irritating you, they're upsetting you, they're saying negative things to you, your client. There are options you have, as some people said earlier. Obviously you can ignore it, you can be the poker face, you can proceed, you can be professional, all those work. I think your sense, your instincts, we all have really good instincts as women. What is the motive there? Is this some elderly gentleman whose just nature is to call you babe, babe? And that may not be worth making it an issue. If it is an expert client who was trying to really rub you the wrong way, use your record. It might be necessary to put it on the record that what they said was inappropriate and unacceptable. So just be, again, flexible, adaptable, but always maintain your composure. I'll tell you, just recently I had two funny things happen to me. I was in the elevator going up to the 27th floor where our lobby is, and I was with an attorney, a gentleman on the elevator, and he said, "Oh, so you're on the 27th? And I hit the button. I said, yes. He said, oh, you work for Gus Fritchie. And I kind of looked at him. He said, you work for him? I said, yes. And he said, what's he like? And I thought for a minute, because Gus and I are both founding partners of our firm. I thought for a minute, and I said, he's a really nice boss man. And I just kind of smiled and walked on. And then not too long after that, it must have been this aura I was presenting, but I was walking through our lobby, and there was this huge deposition going on. And this man came out, he was kind of frantic, and he looked at me and he said, could you get me a cup of coffee? And I said, sure, absolutely. Well, how would you like that coffee? And I ran and got him his coffee, and I ran him back in the conference room and asked, could I get anybody else anything while I was at it? And of course, you can see my partners were horrified. And when he learned later, you know, but he didn't mean anything by it except the automatic assumption that a woman who comes by is either a secretary or assistant. But it's all in how you handle it, and sometimes it's best to make light of those situations.
One of the pitfalls that I often hear people talking about is female attorneys who work very, very hard, are staying late, but then at the end of the month, when it's time for the billable report to be printed, they don't look as productive as they appear during the month. Are there any, is there any advice that you have on the panel to help the audience members to appear more productive on paper, to be able to capture their time and have people that they're working for realize that they are doing a good job and they are working and making money?
I don't deal with billable hours. We deal with contracts. So, I mean, you know, in almost every case in my law firm, as Judge Giusso can tell you, I'm the trial lawyer. The clients sign a contract with me, and because of that, I have the duty to try the case. And I may also have a legal duty to try that case, because that contract bears my name, not the name of one of my associates. I have very good associates at ABB. And none of them has ever said Darlene doesn't work. Darlene works very hard. And but it's because I want to do it. I enjoy it.
I think Kelly, you're talking about. I think what you're saying is that if you're not capturing your time correctly every day, then at the end of the month, while you might have worked 200 hours, you've written down for those people in firms who have to document all the time that they're working on each case. It shows you worked 75, and it's just I'm guilty of that. I don't capture all my hours. And when we have associates, women associates and male associates, I don't think that's limited to the female. And I think that we notice when someone's at the office all the time, and we do notice that, well, they're just not capturing all the time because they're at the office all the time, they're working hard, we see it. Just try to write your, I can tell you, I can do as I preach, not as I do. Write your time up every day. That's the way to get around that. You have to write your time up every day. You can do it through the day as you're doing it, and then you won't run into that. Because it's not a great excuse to say, well, I really was working that hard when no one's getting to bill for your time that you were working. That's not going to help with the, you have to tell that to the male or female partner.
Right, well, you know, I mean, it's unfortunate, and there have been so many studies, everybody wants to do away with the billable hour, but at the end of the day, that's what we use now. But capturing it at the end of the day or periodically during the day is good, because then you can honestly remember at the time what you were doing and write it in a way that someone wants to pay for that time. You know, if you write draft memoranda and you got 24 hours next to it, what does that mean? What issues were you looking at? You know, what were you doing? Were you preparing for a deposition? So when you do it in real time, I think that that keeps up with it. The other end of that though is people who write down their time. You know, they don't put it off. For some reason, you don't value your own time. Oh, I think I was spending too much time. I was here 12 hours, but I'm